All right, there in theology. What is up? What is up? I I am so sick of mostly everything right now. Um, my sleep has still been kind of weird. I had like a strange apocalyptic dream coming into was that Thursday? Thursday morning. What was the 19th? What's today? Today's the 20th, so that would have been Wednesday morning. Because I'd fallen back to sleep around 5:30 a.m. So like I'd fallen back asleep. So like Wednesday morning. Um, so yeah, I've been kind of um, just kind of wanting to um, I don't know. I've kind of just wanted to um, I'm kind of blanking on what I was going to talk about. I kind of wanted to talk about like Bible camps. I may have talked about them before, but I kind of want to talk about them. But I guess I don't know. Like all this like ignoring social media is stressful. That's kind of what what I'm kind of like I'm ignoring it, but I feel like people know that I'm ignoring it and they're still sending me stuff. They're still filling me in. Like as much as I say to people that I don't want to talk politics and stuff, and then I've got family members that are always like the first word out of their mouth is like Trump all the time, and I'm just like, seriously, like I don't want to talk about this. We've gone back and forth in the house about how our TV just defaults back to CNN News, and so I think, I've nagged about it enough to the point that now it's not happening. Now it's on some like channel about like weird experiences, like supernatural stuff. So it is creepy stuff. Whenever I walk in there, there's like somebody like getting abducted by aliens or talking about some demonic force that was like in their room or like some kind of angelic being or something, and I'm just like, okay, this is creepy to overhear while I'm like cooking my raviolis or something, but it's like I'd rather listen to that, but it's still background noise. I don't know, I'm just not a background noise person. Like I'll put on a podcast like in my ear or something. I like something like in my ear. Like if I'm gonna listen to something, I want it drowning out every other thing. I don't wanna I don't wanna just have something in the background and just be like in the middle of something else. Like I've got family members that will literally be like TV is on, the other computer in the other room is on because it's like they're trying to play videos so that other people get, I guess they're kind of like connected with other people with social media, so they're trying to like watch their videos all the way through to kind of watch their ads to get them, you know, some kind of help with, to get them kind of more ratings or whatever. And then they'll be like watching something on their phone and then like playing something, like watching something on like a, like they'll have maybe like a sermon playing on like an iPad or something, and then on their phone playing a game at the same time. I'm like, what is going on? Like, it's like I come out and there's just like all this noise just drowning out everything, and I'm just like, what are you listening to or watching? It's like everything's going on at once. Like I'm not into that. I'm like, I like to do one thing at a time. Maybe if I'm like driving and listening to something, or driving and podcasting or something like that, but I don't, I'll do it if I've worked remotely, when I've had like remote work and stuff. I don't mind putting something on when I'm like writing in the background, when I'm just like doing paperwork or like uploading mail and stuff like that. I'm just like, if it's like tedious stuff, I'll put something on. in the background. But other than that, it's more like for boredom's sake, so that I'm not just like my brain is just like dulling out. But I don't know, like this political stuff, like we're almost done with this month, and it's still not. It's not gonna get any better, guys. Like, let's be real. Um, the only improvements we're gonna see is kind of like the organizations that come out of all of this to try to combat it, or the people who are doing volunteer work and community service work and all the kind of grassroots programs and all that kind of stuff that's going to come out of all of this. Like, that's kind of the only hope we're going to have, unless there's some kind of uprising or some kind of like when the Black Lives Matter movement got pretty you know, widespread, and it got to the point where they were making curfews and stuff. I mean, there was like looting and all that kind of stuff, but they got to a point where they had police posted up and they made a curfew for certain cities. I mean, like it can get to that level, guys, because it already has not that long ago. So I could kind of foresee something like that happening. I'm not saying that I think that's what I want, but jeez. But yeah, somebody sent me something that somebody posted on Instagram that I didn't want to know because I wasn't on there anyways because I don't want to know. But it was basically somebody saying like F you to President's Day, and F you to all the people who voted third party, and F you to the Trump supporters, and F you to anyone who didn't vote for Kamala Harris, and like all this kind of stuff. And I was just like, whoa, like it's kind of crazy. That's crazy talk. This was coming from somebody that I kind of respect, and I'm kind of like, well, you don't really know how people voted. Oh, they were saying F you to people who didn't vote. And I think this was, I don't know if it was something they reposted or something that they posted, like just typed it out. But, I kind of got that screenshot from another friend, and I was just like, oh, like, how do you say don't send me that kind of stuff? But it's like, I didn't want to know. Like, I would have been better off not knowing what this friend thinks about anybody's opinions. I don't want to know their opinions. I'm kind of not into the spread of hatred right now. It's just like people need to learn to work it out, you know, or just stop promoting the hatred at the least, like not putting it up online for other people to kind of like fan the flames. Like, I don't know. I just hate seeing people tearing each other down. Like, there's a lot of it. It's getting. I've never seen this before. I've never seen this before. Like, people get mad at each other, but usually it kind of blows over. I've never seen this kind of like, divide between people on politics. And I think rightfully so. I'm not saying that it shouldn't, that people shouldn't be speaking up. I'm not saying, that the people speaking up are doing the wrong thing, but it's like at this point, blaming the people who voted how you didn't want them to vote. I don't know if that's really going to help. I think people just need to be having conversations. That's the one thing that I see that's missing. Like, people want to talk online. They want to say whatever they want to say online. They want to post it on social media. They want to run around social media getting mad or commenting or making their own, putting it on platforms on their own channels or whatever. But it's like, are people sitting down with their loved ones having conversations? I don't think I've heard or seen anybody say like, hey, I was talking to so-and-so the other day. It's like, no. Did you see what youth pastor so-and-so posted on Facebook? Like what my old youth pastor posted on Facebook? Did you see what this other person said about that other person? did you see what this person said about this thing? It's like, no, I didn't see any of it because I'm not paying attention to any of it anymore. But now I guess people want to send me screenshots of it. But like, no, I didn't hear any of it because I stopped. Even people who send me their own content, like, usually I'm very open-minded to friends' content. You know, when friends send me content, I'm like, oh, cool, I'll check it out. And depending on what it seems to be about, I'll check it out, or I'll at least look at what the topic is. But oftentimes I don't. I'm just like, usually, if it's too off topic from what I'm interested in at the moment, I'm probably not going to tune in too much. Like, I don't really have the brain capacity for it, but I don't know. I've definitely just been a little bit like, I still don't know how to deal with this, you know, because I know what's kind of working for me, but I'm like, everybody's not going to do the same thing, you know, everybody's not going to, you know, shut off and kind of get off of these social media hubs and start talking to people that they know. Phone, Zoom, face to face. People aren't going to have conversations. I don't think anyone has the energy to have conversations like this. It's easier actually to not have conversations. Like the person who posted this thing on Instagram or reposted it or whatever, like, I don't want to call him. Yeah, like, I was just talking to him the other day, like on Super Bowl. I caught up with quite a few people, and I was like, you know, like, I kind of know where this person stands politically, but I wouldn't have expected, you know, about a week later that they're gonna be like so pissed off, you know. And it's like, I'm kind of like, okay, I would like to know exactly what happened. Like, what were you engaged with some kind of content that got you to that point, or did something happen at work, or did something happen with someone you know? Like, what was the point that got somebody so frustrated to post that on their Instagram? What was it, you know? Because I've never seen this person with an FU anything. Like, that's not really their style. I'm not saying they never get mad. I'm just saying it's not really their style, you know? They're not usually very aggressive online. Usually, actually, they post very positive, therapeutic stuff. Almost always. It's almost always like thought provoking, kind of like affirming types of content that they post, or stuff where they're like on trips and vacations with their loved ones. I've never seen like an FU kind of post from this person, so that's a little, you know, it's kind of speaking to things, to the climate of things. I don't know, like, I think with the fires and everything too, that just did in my energy. Like, I couldn't do the back to back, the political stuff with the fire stuff. I was like, I just can't. I gotta just exit from this because I was definitely losing my mind. And I don't think I'm still not losing my mind. I think it's still happening. It's just coming out in my dreams now instead of in my day to day. Because I had like last week was probably the worst week I've had as far as my sleep in probably like years, since I was in grad school, since I was having these weird dissociative, freaking spaced out, zoned out, disconnected experiences in grad school because I wasn't sleeping, or whatever wasn't happening was definitely not happening. Whatever needed to happen wasn't happening. Back at that time, yeah, I'm trying to think if there's a time where my sleep has been this bad. As far as bad quality of dreams, waking up at weird hours, not able to fall back to sleep after waking up at 2, 3, or 4 in the morning. Um, just, you know, 4 to 6 days, consecutive days of that, even when some of them I was taking a lot of melatonin, a lot of THC, like indica, Delta 9, and CBD products. Like usually that stuff will knock my brain out to a point that it's like I'm not thinking about anything, and I was still having some really crazy dreams, not sleeping well. It was just completely out of the norm. So I don't really know. My brain has never gone completely back to normal yet, and that's another reason why I haven't really been recording, because I'm like, the recordings that I make when I'm in those states of mind are really not. I don't think they're helpful for anybody. They're not helpful for me. I'm like, dude, like, what am I talking about? But yeah, I'm trying to think if there were times when I was maybe less. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I'm trying to tune out most of the world, and I can't. I can't. Um, it's hard for me to tune out a lot of stuff because I'm social, and I don't know. Like maybe when I lived with that wild roommate, when I had the house full of like the real world house, the real world. When I was living in the real world, the real world Linda Vista, San Diego, that's kind of what it was. It's just like people fighting with each other all the time. Like, what is going on? Like, these people are so dramatic. One of them definitely had a problem. They all did, and then I started having problems because of them. Like, but I stayed there because I had my own problems. So that's a problem of my own. But you know, I eventually got myself out of it, and once I hit my last straw, I will eventually hit my last straw with things. I'm like, I just have too high of a tolerance for that, for BS, I think, and I'm starting to have way lower tolerance for it, because it's just like, I'm like, well, these things aren't working in my favor, so I'm just gonna not be around them. And I'm noticing it's kind of like I'm kind of on another extreme now, where I'm just like, just not dealing with anything. It's like, if I don't want to deal with this, I'm not gonna deal with it. Um, but yeah, I don't know. That's kind of what's really on my mind, is just how to kind of just do my own thing with all this other stuff going on. I love catching up with people, I do, but it's like, I can't do the political thing, I can't, like, I'm not saying I don't want to talk about the real parts of it. I'm just like, I guess I'm at a point where I'm like, okay, let's talk solutions. Like, let's actually start talking like productive methods, not just like hating on each other. Like, okay, yeah, you hate whoever, like, whatever. Like, what difference does it make if you have to like verbalize that opinion? Like, I'd rather just try to find solutions, Um, try to find solutions, and everybody should be talking to each other, or not. They don't have to talk, but I'd say talking over social media posting, because it's very diluted, and people aren't. I don't know. Maybe I'll just try to think about this more, but I don't know. I mean, the thing is, I guess what really bothers me is I don't like being around only like-minded people. That's not what I want. I don't want to just be around people that only think like me. I don't want to be. That's not what I'm going for in life. I'm not like, okay, I need a bunch of people in my life and around me that only see the world as I do. Um, I mean, but it is kind of at a point where it's like, okay, well, if my friends want me dead, are you really my friends? It's like, I for my whole life have kind of used that word loosely. You'll probably often hear me saying my friends, my friends, my friends, my friends, my friends, my friends. It's like, if I like you, then I consider you my friend if we are in touch with each other. Or some people that we have been in touch with each other and maybe aren't anymore, but I would still consider them friends. If we had a friendship at one point, I would still consider people my friends, even if we don't talk that much sometimes. But, it's, I've questioned some friendships where I'm like, just based off of their kind of political minded things that they say, I'm like, okay, like a lot of the things that I hear people saying or I've heard people say are really prejudiced things. And I'm like, do they not notice this? But, like I'm a minority on a lot of different levels. So I'm kind of used to hearing people say kind of BS kind of stuff. Like, for example, I had a friend who, is not black and multiple times had mentioned kind of like negative opinions about black people. A lot. They have brought it up quite a few times, and I'm just thinking like, but this person considers me a very close friend of theirs. I have a key to their house. They invite me to stuff. We've got some kind of an emotional connection, and we share things with each other. But they don't like black people. But I'm like, how is that a thing? They're mad about things like affirmative action or, you know, anything that, like Floyd or, what was that thing that happened back in like Missouri or something? I don't know. Like, whenever there's something political that has something to do with black people, they would always kind of say something like, oh, like black people this or black people that. And I'm just thinking, but you have so many black friends. You have friends that aren't black that people think are black. You hang out around black spaces. Now I've seen this person kind of get jumpy when they were around black people. At one point, I saw it, and then I've heard ideas about how they talked about like black people not having education or not having money and that kind of thing. They don't really understand some systems. Um, but I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to. There's something I want to say that I don't want it to come across as I don't know if I should say it or not. Like it's just I don't know. Like I'm not saying everybody needs to believe the way that I do, but I also understand that not everybody is in a profession or in a line of work or has been living a lifestyle to where they're talking to all sorts of people from all walks of life on a very regular basis, that they're constantly having to challenge their ideas. Like, not everybody works in psychology. Not everybody is, talking to like so many different, like, you can talk to like rich psychiatrists in one moment and then be trying to connect that person with another person who's rolling up off the street with everything they own just kind of on their backs, can't shower, hasn't showered, can't care for their hygiene because of living on the streets and stuff. And I've spent over a decade communicating between these different types of people. It's like you're talking to a psychiatrist that at least on paper, this person's probably wealthy as far as their income is concerned. Like, if you're a psychiatrist in Southern California, you're making some kind of money. And then there's like homeless people that are like literally just like living in the gutters and living on the streets, literally living on the streets, like sleeping on the sidewalk and in bushes and behind buildings and stuff. And I was constantly like a bridge between these groups of people. And it's like, I'd have lunch with psychiatrists. We'd sit and talk about, I'd pick their brain about like different organic foods and different thoughts that they might have about certain stuff. And then, so I'd pick their brains about that kind of stuff. And then, at the same time, I'd be talking to a client who was who's telling me that, you know, they don't want their hallucinations to go away because it's their only friends. And it's kind of like, these are not the same conversations. Like, you know, and I'm used to having conversations like that where it's like, I'm talking to people in deep despair, and I'm also talking to people who like have a wealth of knowledge and, you know, drive nice cars and go home to their nice houses. Yes, they've been in an education system for I don't even know how long for some of them. Yes, they've spent decades of their lives dedicated to the medical field. And then I've talked to other people who just, you know, their mental health definitely makes it so they couldn't really do something like that. You know, not in the way at least that the school structure, the typical school structure would provide. Like, I'm not saying somebody with a diagnosis can't become a doctor. Like, that's not true at all. But they'd have to probably work around, they'd have to have like maybe a schedule or some kind of method to kind of manage themselves. And they'd probably have to get creative with it, is what I'm trying to say. But I understand not everybody in the population is talking to people on so many varieties of levels on such a regular basis. So when I hear somebody that's like, oh, this person just literally, you know, they haven't gone through an education system or been raised in a religion where they were just nonstop, like, talking, like, either them playing devil's advocate or somebody else doing that and having to challenge, okay, what were we reading in this text and what does it mean? And like, or when somebody comes from this culture in a psychological setting, like, how do we manage these family dynamics, and like all these kind of different exposure to so much variety. I know not everybody has that. So I do get frustrated, and it's hard for me to talk to people that get so narrow-minded, because I'm like, I want my mind expanding and to know all different aspects of how people think and how they live their lives. I'm not really trying to stay like in my little bubble. You know, so I do have to kind of check myself on that, because I'm like, not everybody is that. I'm not saying I'm like intellectually capable. I don't want to say it like that, but it's like, because I'm wrong a lot too. I mean, if you listen to this podcast, you know, like, I don't know everything. I don't even know half of everything, you know. Or else I'd have it all figured out, and I probably wouldn't be on here just like talking about whatever. But yeah, like, I've met people who, I know people who, you know, I'm trying to figure out how to have patience with people and how to address some of this stuff that keeps kind of poking its head up. And, you know, I don't think the best choice is to not deal with it forever, because I don't want to get more and more, you know, isolated from people who think differently and only start talking to people who think like I do. That for me is not fun. But I also don't think I have that much space to hold for people that don't agree with human rights. That I just don't like. You know, I mean, if somebody starts, I don't know. Like, I guess I'm often, I guess, disappointed by human nature, my own included. Not just, I'm not just talking about other people, but my own included. And I might have to make a separate episode out of this, because I'm gonna start rambling. I'll talk about the Bible camp stuff in the next one. I'll post them both at the same time. But I guess I just don't want to make it seem like I don't want to make it seem like, I don't know. I don't know. It's hard for me to expose myself to people. That sounds weird. I didn't mean it to sound like that. It's hard for me to kind of get myself in front of people that I don't really have the energy for. Like, I don't want to be arguing with people. I want to have conversations with people. I don't want to be arguing with people. I think everything's too fresh. But also, it's like, I know that if I'm talking to people, they're all connected to all this media that I'm disconnected from. Because I'm trying to think for myself. I don't want the media thinking for me. And that's what it was doing for a while. I was like, okay, I'm experiencing a lot of anger. I wouldn't call it hatred in a way that was like I literally was hating people, but I could feel that. I was like, I feel a little more hateful, a little more rageful towards these others that just don't seem to understand, human rights accurately, and can't really see the bigger picture of the people that they're hurting. You know, I mean, I'm a queer person, so I'm definitely noticing that there's a lot of queer media coming up. More than what I'm used to even seeing, like with the Grammys and like all the other things. I'm like, the gays are taking over, but I mean, I've noticed. I mean, when you're not a straight person, you notice it. You notice that there are not straight people around often. And I think a lot of us were raised with the whole like, oh, like 1% of the population is gay, and I'm like, that's not right. Like, I already knew that wasn't right because more than 1% of the people I knew were gay. Like a lot of people I knew were gay. Like there were a lot of them. I knew there were a lot of them. There were a lot of them that I still know a lot of queer people. Um, and this was before people were even more comfortable talking about it. Um, I knew it was out there. I knew, since I was a kid, I already knew that. And everyone's like 1%. I'm like, no, that's not right. That's not right. That's not accurate at all. There's a very large percentage of the population that fits within the LGBTQ plus spectrum. There's a very large percentage. It's just people weren't comfortable with it, you know? Like, there was no representation anywhere, almost, except for, like, Ellen and, like, freaking uh, Jack, what's his name? Jack and Will and Grace. I don't know what the show, Will and Grace, like, Queer as Folk, those types of things from, like, the 90s. Like, there wasn't that much out there. Um, those generations were very not open. Like, people were definitely discriminated against. I mean, I'm not saying they're not now, but it's like, you know, it things have changed. Not completely. They're not 100% perfect, but things have definitely changed to a point where it's like there's definitely a difference between like 2025 queers and 1990 queers. It's like there's a difference, the life, everything is different. I remember watching past, like when I watch past like old like queer series, and it's like they'd have to go to like Canada to get married, or they'd have to, you know they were getting harassed by police, or like clubs getting shut down and all kinds of stuff, in different cities. And you know there weren't as many pride events, and there were people were able to just discriminate at work. um and now, people almost don't care if somebody is gay anymore. They're like, well, now let's start attacking the trans people. And it's like, they've been there too. Like, where have you guys been? Like, there have been a lot of people in this country with their eyes just like closed. It's like, y'all need to talk to people and like get out and like actually communicate with people, and you will see that there a lot of the people that some people want to hate. It's like They're your neighbors. They've been your friends. They've been your brothers and sisters and family members. And they hear that you're prejudiced, which is why they don't want to talk to you. You know, it's like, that's why. You know, you're the reason why, because you're prejudiced, you know? Like, you're the reason why they don't want to, like, tell you things. But it's like, you know, sometimes when people are prejudiced, they don't think they are. I'm prejudiced against people. I know that I am. I'm prejudiced against people that don't want to be open minded. I definitely am. Like I don't find it attractive. I get frustrated with it. I know everybody has their rights to be like, let me stay in my box and not like try different things, or not like, not like be open minded to like different sorts of like, supplements or different sorts of other types of things, or like, hey, there's this cultural event, let's go check it out, but they don't want to go check it out, because it's a different culture, and like, you know that kind of stuff. Like, I don't really want to, I don't know, for me it's hard to want to be around people that are like that, that are kind of closed off to society. Like, I think I have a prejudice against people that are pretty closed off to society. It's not easy for me to interact with them, because it's hard for me to like. I feel like a lot of times their fear turns into hatred or prejudice, or their discomfort. It's just their discomfort just turns into like all kinds of things. Sometimes some people are able to recognize it's fear, or just they don't have any interest in people that think differently or live differently or move through the world differently, and other people just I think there's a lot of prejudice that comes out of it. I'm not just saying that like people who are kind of like closed minded and like these ultra conservative religions, or like in the way of thinking, racially, that like, oh, like you should only marry your own race, or those kind of people. I mean, I know they exist, and they can be good people, they can be nice people, but for me, they're hard to hang out with. And I do hang out with them, which is why I get so irritated. You guys hear me being like, this person, because I talk to them, even though it's like frustrating as hell. I'm like, but I have to take it in strides. I'm like, okay, I'll talk to you, but only for a little bit, and then it's like, I don't want to talk anymore. I kind of like to know what people think, and then I'm kind of like, I'll just leave it at that. Like, let's not continue talking about these things. But once I kind of know where they are on certain things, like, I'll kind of just talk about the stuff that I'm like, okay, we can talk it in these areas. I'm comfortable with these areas. I'm not comfortable with these other areas. With some people, I'm like, we just can't talk about that stuff. But it's really hard to try to have relationships with people that think so differently. I'm really struggling with it. I'm having a hard time with it, and I do not like this. I don't like it at all. I'm like, because this is even like people that I'm like, oh, I thought we were kind of in the same corner, and then it's like, oh, we're really not even in the same corner. You're over in that corner over there. Like, okay, like now there's another corner of people. It's like, I thought, I don't know. There's too much of the us versus them, and now it's even dividing even more. There's too many different like groups against each other. But it's like, guys, at the end of the day, we need to be against these politicians, not against each other. It's like, okay, maybe some of us voted one way or one other way, like whatever, but we're not the ones making all these rules. We're not the ones making all these stupid laws. We're not the ones like calling all the shots with all this dumb stuff. Like, even some people who think they want that, or they think for whatever reason that's something that appeals to them. For whatever reason that might be, you know, that's just kind of how it is. But I don't really understand a lot of this stuff. It's hard for me to understand. Um, and I don't really like talking about it, you know. I'm not trying to go into like details with specific people I know, but it's like, I don't know. Like, I'm just noticing a lot of like, I don't know. I'm gonna have to figure out. It's gonna take me a while to figure out how I want to really address things. Because I'm trying to talk to people, but I'm like, I don't really want to hear what they have to say. I'm noticing that. I'm like, I want to talk to you, but I don't really want to listen. And it's not that I want people to say what I need them to say. It's just like sometimes I'm like, do you not hear yourself? Do you not hear the words coming out of your mouth? Like, do you not hear yourself and what you're saying and how someone else is gonna interpret this? Like, do you not understand? Like, people don't understand, I think, hatred. I think people don't understand it. And I'm just shocked. The churches are being very silent about a lot of this stuff. Um, I don't know if that's good or not. You know, I don't know. They need to rock the boat a little bit. They need to get out of their comfort zones. I think they need to just speak up. I think some of these pastors and people need to just show their colors to everyone and just be like, this is where I stand. This is what I think. And they don't want people to leave their church, which is why they don't want to say it up front. They don't want to be up front. They don't want people to leave their church. They don't want to make people uncomfortable or bring religion into the church. But a lot of these policies are like a new religion. It's like I can see it. There's like this underlying Christianity thing that's not Christianity. It's some other thing that's using some ideas from Christianity and throwing it into the political system. But it's not like the actual Christianity. A lot of people, I don't know. I can't get too far into the Bible on a lot of this stuff, guys, but I don't know. People place a lot of stock in what the Bible says, and they don't want to know the history of who wrote what, why it's in there like that. Like, you got to study the history of how the stuff was even written and who wrote it and in what context. I mean, these churches don't even teach you all of that. You have to go out of your way to figure it out and do your own like massive lit reviews on some of this stuff. And once you start studying the background of the church, you kind of realize, basically like somewhere along the line, the church started looking like it does now. And if you think about when Jesus was on earth, the church did not look like it does now. And there's nothing really wrong with something evolving. But I constantly am questioning, is it even the same religion? I don't think it's even the same religion. The churches I've been to, the Adventist churches I've been to, the Messianic Jewish churches I've been to, they might be more similar, possibly, but they still a lot of times come with the same Bibles. The Orthodox Church is maybe the different Orthodox churches, but I guess there are some Orthodox churches that seem maybe a lot more similar to the early stuff. Like anyone who's following things that are pre all those councils, like if you're following information that's before those councils, I would say you're probably following a closer version of Christianity than anyone else. Because once you started having the Council of Nicaea and all those other councils that I've talked about, those historical councils that developed like the biblical canon, and people started messing around with the text and the wording and started like misinterpreting things, and the Catholic Church started taking things out and putting things in and killing people. I mean, if you have any kind of system in place where you're killing people that don't believe the same way, everybody's going to say that, oh yeah, I'm a scholar and this is how you interpret this. Because I don't want to get burned at the stake or crucified upside down or whatever the heck kind of weird, torture is going to come out of not believing it. It's like, it doesn't make any sense. But I don't know. That's why I'm kind of like, I don't really see any churches that are like reverting back to the non-manipulated or the less manipulated versions of church, because a lot of stuff has been completely manipulated, and now we're having another manipulation with this political system that's kind of dabbling into church. and they're making it look like Christianity. But I'm like, guys, I guarantee you this is not Christianity. I guarantee you it's not. Like, look, read your Bible. Just read the Bible. Like, read it. Even if you read the Bible, the stuff that they're doing isn't even in there. It's craziness. It's just crazy. But, they're trying to tie Christianity into it. If they can do it once, they can do it again, and they've already started trying to, like, implement certain things that they don't want in schools. They're starting it at a lower level of just trying to erase history and erase certain ideas and implement a little more Christian related things. I mean, we don't need more Christian related things in public schools. We don't need that. We need public schools to stay separate. There are private schools for people who want their kids to know that. We don't need the government supporting religion. We don't need that. I don't care what religion it is, because it just so happens to be a religion that maybe I was raised in, raised around, and maybe more comfortable with. I mean, if our government decided to be like Muslim all of a sudden, I'd be like, wow, this is an odd shift. Trump, this is an odd shift. That Trump converted to Islam. I'd kind of like to see that, but I think it would become a disaster. Like, I think he'd immediately try to, like, enforce Sharia law. Like, it would be a mess. But I feel like they're trying to do something like that. Once you start integrating little grains and morsels, you're gonna be screwed. This is gonna screw us all. Like, because even people who are like, oh, it's becoming more Christian, it's not gonna be the Christian you want. It's gonna be some other thing. And you're still gonna be complaining. You're gonna be like, this isn't Christianity. My church doesn't teach this. The Bible doesn't say that. It's like, yeah, but you thought it was more Christian than the other stuff. It's like, it's not the same thing, And you've heard about wolves in sheep's clothing, Pay attention, but it's I don't even know how to really describe this as far as what I'm trying to say, but it's dangerous. It's dangerous. This is all dangerous stuff. It's becoming dangerous. It's gonna stay dangerous. People just beware. There's a lot that's coming. That's, like, I can feel it, because people are already so disconnected. Like, that's the first thing. Once you start, like, hating people that you love, like, your social structures are now, there's a tension there. Within relationships, there's a tension. Within families, there's a tension. I already feel it in my own family, and most of my family is on the same page, but I still don't want to hear what they have to say, because they're not fully on the same page. And some of the stuff for me, I want to say it's maybe a deal breaker. Some stuff for me, I'm starting to think some of these things are deal breakers for me, that I don't know how many people I can hang out with that think too far differently from me. And I've never really had that experience before. Like, usually it's like, okay, we're all these different shades and shapes and sizes and colors and ways of thinking and educational backgrounds and socioeconomic backgrounds and different demographics, and we can always hang out. And now I'm questioning that, But also, there aren't that many people that think like me either, so I can't really cut everybody out. And I don't think I really want to cut out a bunch of people without, I'll battle it out. I'll argue with people. Like, anyone who knows how idiotic I can get with things, I'll argue with people. And then I'll regret it. I'll be mad at somebody for a while, and I'll be like, this person's an idiot. I hate how they think. And I'll sleep on it for days, maybe weeks, maybe even a month or two, and then I'll be like, oh, I can kind of see where this person was coming from in that conversation. Even if I don't agree, I can kind of see it and be like, okay, but they're actually nice to me and we're still friends, and try to just focus on the fact that they're always kind You know, they try their best in the relationship that we have, even if I think their political views are stupid, even if I think that maybe they themselves don't really even understand, like, maybe the whole they're trying to, like, I don't know, they're kind of voting against things that include them. It's like if you vote in this direction, don't you realize that those things are going to screw you over too? You know, it's like that's going to screw you up too if these different things are implemented. But I don't know. um we have we have freedom in this country to even be able to be on social media and even be able to just talk crap about each other or whatever, and to hate our government and to hate each other and to just openly just express ourselves. Even though there's a lot of censorship, we do have that freedom, you know, and a lot of countries can't even complain. They can't even complain legally. They can't even vent legally. Um, so at least we have that, you know. Um, the freedom of speech is very interesting, you know. It's just very interesting because people can say what they want to say for the most. It's not fully free. We don't fully have freedom of speech, but compared to some places, we definitely do. We have a version of it to where it's definitely free in comparison. But I'm gonna have to think more about this kind of stuff. It's a lot to think about. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to think about. I just want to party with everybody. I don't really want to, you know, think about who I invited to the rave or who I invited to the gay club, and are they prejudiced, and are they going to be, you know, upset with this, or is there going to be some argument, or are they going to say some kind of inappropriate slur, or is this person, you know, going to be rude to my other friends? You know, I don't want to think about that kind of stuff. I've never really had that many issues with it in the past, and now I'm kind of questioning because I think everybody's being so brainwashed by all the media, the news media especially. Everyone's getting brainwashed by it, and because everyone's kind of brainwashed by it, I'm probably brainwashed by it too, but I'm trying to be brainwashed by my own thoughts, you know, and tune more into myself, and then keep trying to tune into other people slowly and check in with friends and things. Um, but it's hard, you know, because everyone else is consumed by the news. Consumed. Like, I almost can't even talk to people about their lives anymore because they don't want to talk about what they're up to, what they're doing. They want to talk about their frustration with this new thing that they heard. And I'm like, I don't even know what's going on. Like, I don't even know because I'm not there. You know, I'm not in a work environment where I have to hear what everybody has to say all the time. I'm not getting emails from my bosses about anything. Like, I'm so disconnected, happily so. Like, I don't think I could be in a workplace right now with all the stuff that's going on. Like, I just, you know, I don't think I could be connected to like churches and having to like hear all this stuff. Like, I don't know. Like, it's hard for me to think about being very openly social, and that's not usually how I live my life. Like, I'm even hesitant to like check in with certain people because I'm like, do I really want to know what you have to say? You know? Or when I'm like, oh, okay, I see that we kind of bond on this certain thing, and then I get some other message that's like, oh, like you clearly we don't see you the same on this. But it's interesting. I mean, I want to get to a point where we can talk about, you know, what we believe and why, and like dissect different things and just leave it at that at the end of the day, and not like fight and not hate each other. I just think we're not there yet. I don't think I'm there yet. I don't think society is there yet, and I'm hoping it kind of morphs into that. I'm hoping that at least this helps people talk more. Like, we kind of noticed during the pandemic, for example, those of us working in any kind of health field, I was working in mental health, we noticed people went from not talking about psychological topics almost ever to everybody kind of starting therapy. Now everybody kind of has the same jargon about, like, self-care and sleep hygiene, and these aren't terms that people don't know anymore, like affirmations, positive affirmations, and you know the differences between depression and anxiety, and, like, these different kind of ways that in the psychology field, like, I was in the field for a while, to the point where it's like, outside of my friends in psych, you never heard anybody talking about psychology. They'd just be like, how's your job? How are all the crazy people? Is everybody crazy? Like, how crazy? What's the craziest person you've ever seen? Like, you get that kind of conversation from people, where they were just like, it's almost like when someone's in the military and people just get inappropriate with them, and they're kind of asking, like, oh, how many people did you kill? Did you kill somebody? Like, what's the craziest thing you saw? Like, that's what people use to talk about mental health. Like, and it's insane to think. I'm like, people literally, like, people who weren't in the field, we would sit down to dinner at, like, a restaurant, and people would be like, what's the craziest thing that happened this week? Like, what crazy people, like, what kind of crazy things do they do or say? Like, are they crazy? And it's like, whoa, like, like, what is going on? Like, we would never say that at work, or, like, refer to our clients as crazy, or talk about things like that. And it's just, people wanted these, like, shock factor stories, and did not understand this. I'm like, it took me a while to understand what people thought we were doing all day. I'm like, what do you think we're doing? Like, and so once other people in the pandemic started having their own mental health situations and seeking out therapy, you don't really hear that anymore, where people don't understand, psychiatric medications, or, don't understand diagnoses, or don't understand getting refills, or don't, like, just don't understand certain stuff. Like, you know, that's not very common, where people just completely don't understand something, with mental health now. Like, and it wasn't that long ago where people were literally, they didn't even respect people who got therapy. They were kind of like almost discouraged, and there still are, cultures and populations where it's like, therapists aren't trusted, that, Western mental health is not trusted, or maybe isn't even a good fit for some people. Like, they prefer their own cultural ways of doing things, and that's completely fine. Like, I'm not saying that. I have my own views about, like, modern Western medicine. I don't think it's the perfect fit for everybody. It's not the perfect fit for me all the time either. So I kind of get that, but I'm hoping that things will shift, because even in mental health, we saw things shift, where people were like, for years, decades, people, like, there was no representation of mental health anywhere, and then everybody started going to therapy. You even see ads for therapists, therapy apps and stuff like that, and people are trying it out on, like, apps and, like, Zoom, and on their phones, and, like, doing all kinds of, like, a variety of types of sessions. People are testing it all out, and they're kind of enjoying themselves. Um, yeah, so people are kind of not really, so afraid of mental health anymore. At least, overall, there's kind of a better understanding that I've ever seen in my life. Um, that, I've even heard family members say things like, "Oh, I think this person's depressed," or "I think this person has trauma," or "I think maybe they should talk to a psychologist." And I'm like, whoa, I've never heard people in my family saying stuff like that. Like, they're usually very not open-minded to that kind of stuff. But I've even heard family members say stuff like that. So I know if it's reaching them, it's kind of like when Facebook reached my parents' friend groups, and it's like, they're on Facebook. They're all on Facebook now. It's like, It's almost like that. So I'm hoping, that maybe in a while, sooner rather than later, with all of the nonsense online, with everybody posting all kinds of stuff, and I'm getting upset by it, and I'm not even on there anymore, and I'm still getting messages from people, and I'm like, I wish they never told me about that, because now I kind of question kind of how I really want to interact with someone. Um, but I kind of know where I want to be with things. Um, I want the hard conversations. I want the complex relationships with people. I want to be able to be mad at my friends and still be friends, I want to be able to be mad at my family and just get over it. It's easier, honestly, to just not want to talk to anybody. That's kind of where I'm at right now. I don't want to talk to anybody about anything. Unless it's something I want to talk about, I don't want to talk about it. Like, I'm just like, I'm being very selfish with my energy. I have some friends that wanted to check in, um, that I just had like no capacity for. I've been like avoiding people, even like some friends. Well, just because my own energy isn't there. And I've had a few friends that have kind of really wanted to talk or kind of needed me. And I respect that. I'm not saying people shouldn't reach out. It's just I have not even had the energy to call people back. Like the other day, I was like, somebody was like, "Hey, when you get the time, I need to talk." And I'm like, "Cool." And I was just like, let me just balance my energy. And it took me hours till I was like, "Fine, like I'll try to like reach back out to them." And I was just like, I'm just literally not in the headspace to be helping anybody. Like I said, my sleep is crazy right now. My dreams are like weird. Like my brain is not super well right now, and my peace of mind is kind of a little shook. It's kind of like off balance. And so I don't really want to be talking to people too much, about heavy things. Like, I don't want to be taking on other people's problems and issues. I've got my own problems and issues to be dealing with. Like, I can't be, trying to deal with other people's problems right now. I don't really have the energy for it. I don't have the capacity for it. I just don't feel like I can do it. So I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it cuz I don't want to wear myself out like that. I already did it. I already did it enough, you know. I did it enough. I don't want to do it anymore. And I'll change. It'll shift. I'll get my energy back rolling, like usual, and I'll have more space to hold for people. But right now, I just have none. I have zero space for anybody. I have negative space. I have negative space for anybody. I barely have space for myself. So I'm just gonna be selfish with my energy and not really engage with people in ways that I find frustrating, or in ways that I just don't want to engage with them. I don't care at the moment. I'm not going to be as caring as as I would like to be. I'm going to be very selfish right now with my energy and my time, and I'm just going to do my own thing. I'm not going to be lying to people or whatever, but I'm just going to kind of, if I don't feel like having some like heavy conversation, I'm just not going to have it anymore. For a while, I was deleting messages. When people would send me stuff, I would just delete it. I was literally just deleting stuff from people. I was like, I just don't even want to read it. I read and I just be like, this is what this is about, and I just like delete it. I'm like, I don't want to see it. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to read it. I don't want it around me. But I do want to get to the point to where we're having conversations. I want to get back to having conversations with people, and really hearing them out. And if they're willing to listen to me, for them to really hear me out, I really want to pick some people's brains. I'm kind of excited to kind of know what people kind of think about some stuff. But it's too soon for me right now. Like, I think I will probably end up like arguing with somebody, or getting too heated of a debate, to a point where maybe we can't really take back what we've said. This isn't the time for me to be doing it right this moment, but I am trying to work towards it. I'm gonna have to build up a tolerance toward it somehow, and see. I might change my mind. I might be this was a stupid idea and it's not good for me, and I just need to kind of completely disconnect. But I want to see. I want to see if something in me kind of changes. That would be fun for me because I'm definitely way more isolated than what I want to be because I'm spending too much time. Yeah, I'm isolated because I'm definitely spending too much time um, trying. I'm spending too much time trying to, um, you know, just like adjust my own energy and kind of try to understand kind of more of what I even think about some stuff. You know, trying to read more. Uh, I definitely did a whole lot of cleaning. Saturday I cleaned everything. I cleaned everything almost. So I felt really good about that. I wasn't really online a lot on Saturday. That helps to just kind of stay off, just have a day at least where I'm just kind of like more disconnected than most days. I really enjoyed that. Um, but I don't know, guys. But I do want to talk about this Bible camp stuff. I guess I needed to kind of just talk about all this stuff. It's kind of keeping me from posting, to be honest, because I'm like, I know that I keep going on these rants, and I'm like, I can't stay on topic because I just want to rant about this stuff. But I'm trying to figure it out because I'm like, it doesn't align with my own values or my own personality traits or my own ways that I try to push myself socially. Like it's kind of, I feel like I'm going backwards socially, and I don't like that. I'm like, I've worked really hard to kind of get my mindset where I want it to be. It's kind of been for a while, my social life has kind of been where I've wanted it to be for a while. And right now it's not. And so I want to figure that out. But um I also recorded something about finances. That's something I was playing with, an idea I was playing with. Um, I don't think I'm going to do that journal anymore. Because every time I think about it, I'm just like, this is stressing me out. It's adding a layer of stress to my life that I don't need or want or like. But I do have an episode I want to post about that, about keeping this like financial journal. It's been a bad experience. My finances are fine, but it's been a bad experience. I'm like, I'm coming across a lot of things that I'm not enjoying. I'm always trying to like, oh, let me make a project out of this and like test myself on this. And like lately I'm coming across a lot of things that I'm like, I don't want to do that anymore. Like I don't want to engage in that anymore. Like it's not fun. I'm finding a lot of things that are like really challenging to try to do. And I don't like it. I'm like, I don't really like this. I don't want to keep indulging some of these challenges, like I don't know where my energy has gone, but I just, some things that seem so simple right now are just not as easy as they should be, or as they could be, or as I want them to be. Um, okay, let me stop recording this episode, but I've got those other types of things I want to post. This is going to be all over the place, so hopefully, just please bear with me. You guys who listen to these episodes, I'm going to be all over the place for a bit. Um, like, I'm shifting a lot of things right now as far as the way I'm thinking and the things I'm trying to think about and how I'm trying to live my life And a lot of different things are shifting for me right now. And I've noticed whenever something for me shifts socially, it really impacts a lot of my energy. It's like, like I put a lot of my energy into social types of things, and, you know, it takes a lot out of me when things aren't smooth. I'm like, my social life is not smooth right now. There's a lot of conflict, not between me and other people, but I could feel that there could be conflict between me and other people if we're just not talking to each other. And so I'm like, but I don't want to not talk to each other. I want to talk to each other, and I know that talking is going to mean that that it's going to be uncomfortable, you know. But there are some people that I'm like, okay, I'm ready to kind of talk to a couple people and just kind of be like, a couple things. Let's talk about a couple things, and let me just sit on it for a while. There's some people I feel like I'm having to like newly learn how to talk to people that I have already kind of understood for a long time. I feel like there's a new layer that's been unveiling with every one of us, that I'm like, I don't know how to navigate this. Like I knew how to navigate everything up to that point, and it feels like the pandemic, how it's like I don't know how to talk to people when we're just zooming now, or we're only on the phone, or we don't go to clubs and bars, and we're sitting at the park together without all the flashing lights and being drunk and stoned and all the other things that we put in our systems and go out and party, when it's just like us and the sun and the grass and a picnic on a blanket in the daytime when we're all sober. I'm like, this is a whole different way to kind of interact with these people. Like, I had to learn how to do that. It took a couple years, in the pandemic, to be like, oh, this person actually doesn't like to hold conversations, or that person really likes to argue and debate, or like, I didn't know these things about these people because all we did was go to clubs together, and we were screaming over the music, and we weren't really having like real conversations or really a lot of depth, and I'm like, oh, okay, like we kind of got to know each other a little bit. I'm like, oh, this person's a little grouchy, or that person is a little this way or that way. Like I kind of started noticing different things about people, and I'm back to that, and I'm like, I don't like these periods of time where I have to think about it too much. It hurts my brain. It literally hurts my brain. It literally hurts my brain. I'm like, it's almost like how people used to joke about like in high school with jocks and saying like that their brain, that it hurts them to think. Like literally, it hurts me to think, about this kind of stuff. I'm like, my social relationships are important to me. Like I'm not trying to like not figure it out, but I'm like, how do you figure this stuff out? Like I've done it before, but I'm in the process of doing it again, and I'm hoping other people are too. It's just like, it sucks. It just sucks. It's not easy. I like things to be easy and unchanging, and that's not really how life goes. So I'm trying to figure it out. I don't like it because it's not fun. It's not pleasant in any way, but this is life now. This is the reality on the other side of January 20th, 2025. This is our new official reality. We're going to have to get used to it. Just like we had to get used to the pandemic, and we had to learn to kind of, manage ourselves. We're going to have to learn to like make this work somehow. And it's not pretty. It's already not pretty. And Americans are not good at this kind of stuff. Our media is so, everybody study propaganda, Go back to World War II propaganda with like Hitler and stuff, and try to compare it and see. I mean, I see social media and modern local news to be exactly that. It's exactly that. It's exactly that. I know because I post things, and I know that certain posts are censored more than others. Certain things are promoted more than others. The algorithms are out to kind of like, I sound like a paranoid freak, but the algorithms are against some of us. You know, if you're trying to promote open minded ideas, good luck. Good luck. Like, you know, there's going to be a lot of crackdown, but I don't know. Shout out to anybody who's listening to these long ass things. Like, sorry that I'm just going to be droning on and on, but that's my reality. I don't know if I can really talk about things that aren't my reality. Like, I'm trying not to, but I'm like, where's that gonna help? What's that gonna help? I don't know, but I've tired myself out. I'm literally tired. Like it's 9 o'clock in the morning, and I'm tired now. After all of this, I've literally just drained all my energy for the morning. I'm gonna go fix my brain. Um, but I do appreciate people listening, and I hope if you have comments, post comments. Like I don't care at this point. I don't even know if I'm gonna read them. Like whatever. Like I'm trying to figure this out though. I'm not gonna let it defeat me or like make me go against my own morals. I do have a lot of strong morals revolving around sense of community and that kind of stuff. I'm not saying I'm perfect at it. I anyone who knows me, I'm a fuck up. Like I'm pissing people off around every corner. Like I'm not perfect, but I have aspirations, you know, and I just, I try to let people know that that's kind of what I stand for. Even though I'm not going to be perfect at it. I feel sometimes the more I try to get better at things, I actually get worse. That's kind of how I feel. I feel like I'm getting worse at this than I was before. Like my patience definitely is wearing thin faster than I've ever noticed in my life. Um, I'm very easy to cut people off now. Like even the last job I had, I was just like, screw this. I don't need this. Like if I find that I don't need something, I'm like, I don't even want to work through things right now. I'm just like, let me just exit. Like I don't even want to like deal with things and like, you know, bare knuckle it out, Like I'm just like, I don't want to do this. If I don't want to do it, I don't do it anymore. Like I don't have the patience to be like, oh, let me be compassionate and sit around. Like no, like this isn't working for me. Bye, like it's like that's not how I've been in the past. Like, but all right, let me stop recording. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. Sorry that it was depressing or maybe too heavy, but also I'm not sorry. If you want to listen to this, more power to you. I don't know. I'm just trying to figure it out. But, anyways, you guys will see other episodes posted up. I'm gonna post these all up at the same time.